Okay, we're live.
Did everybody sign in as attendees? Can you sign in on the platform, please? Oh, did everybody sign in? No. It's not to say you're speaking, it's just a land unless if you attended. Okay? I got your email too.
Shall I put this back outside?
Oh, I can take it.
He's ignored you.
Just like you call the riff.
We should stop it, yeah. Yeah, you want to? Yeah. I'm not putting YouTube. That's all. Everybody gets a spot all by themselves, so.
Thanks for ruining my plan.
Exactly. Call this public hearing to order. This public hearing is pursuant to the Local Government Act in order to consider an application to exclude land from the agricultural land reserve. At this public hearing, all persons wishing to speak will be given an opportunity to be heard. However, I ask that all who speak at this meeting restrict the remarks to the matters pertaining to the application to exclude land from the agricultural land reserve. Those wishing to speak at this public hearing commence their remarks by stating their name and civic address. Written comments may be submitted to the head table before the closure of this public hearing, and comments received to the date or to date on the proposed application are attached to this agenda. The purpose of this public hearing is to provide community members an opportunity to comment on the application to exclude land from the agricultural land reserve. So I'm going to repeat that part again. This is about the exclusion of the agricultural land reserve. It's not about any other issue. So if you're asking to speak, it is only to the issue that is at hand, which is the exclusion from the agricultural land reserve. Okay. I'll now pass it over to CAO Lyle Thomas to give us the specifics.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to start off with, Princeton has a housing shortage and council has made housing a priority for the last 3 or 4 years. Our housing needs study has identified a need for housing in all housing categories. Council has worked very hard to encourage private landowners and private developers to develop houses, carriage houses, secondary suites, and subdivisions to meet our community housing needs. Council also wanted to lead by example and investigate the development of all town-owned lands. The only land owned by the town that meets the criteria is the airport property. In the spring of 2022, Council put out a call for an expression of interest for an airport housing project. The expression of interest included criteria for a variety of housing types, including single-family, multifamily, row housing, hangar-style homes, as well as provide for amenity spaces, green spaces, and trails. In order to move the concept forward, an exclusion application must be made to the ALC in order to remove a portion of land out of the ALR. The portion of land to be excluded is the hillside along the airport road near the water reservoir. Council has agreed by resolution to proceed with the exclusion application process. The exclusion application process includes giving notice to the public and conducting a public hearing as we are hosting today. The public notice has produced 4 letters from town residents, 1 letter from a non-resident, 2 emails from residents, and 1 email from a non-resident, which have been included in the agenda package.
Okay, thank you, CAO. So I will now ask Anybody who wishes to speak? Up to the podium. So I will just clarify one thing before you start. So this is about the LR
Yes,
exclusion. It's not about developers hearsay, it's about the LR exclusion.
okay.
Council is not, it's not a back and forth. It's for you to to speak to council and council to hear you. It's not to ask questions and have council to reply with questions.
I don't have any questions. I'm just here. Well, I guess I should start by saying I'm solitaire. I'm sure most of you know because I've been here before and I live at 238 Airport Road. And although I do have a ton of questions about the development, I'm actually really here today to kind of tell you how I feel about removing the ALR designation from that Grasslands Hillside Airport Road and my reasons for why I think that you shouldn't. So my first reason is the conservation of a beautiful, beautiful grasslands hillside. According to the Nature's Trust website, native grasslands have disappeared at an alarming rate due to urban development and other uses. Less than 1% of BC is now covered with grasslands. And not only do grasslands sequester carbon, they also provide habitat for 30% of BC species at risk. Grasslands support more threatened and endangered plants and animals than any other habitat type in this province. And the website also states that the conservation lands at the airport are adjacent to the provincial and ungulate winter range, so elk and deer. I'm not sure I pronounced that correctly. The trust identified that the grasslands at the airport have many species, mainly birds, that are on the endangered and threatened list. You can see the full list on their website. I didn't list them because this was getting a bit long. We also have a really good bluebird population that only thrives in grassland areas and are mostly seen down by the airplane weather vane end of the airport road. The trust states they like how the cattle-free range on these grasslands, which of course includes the town's portion too. And I believe that this 121-acre parcel should really become part of the existing conservation land as it connects to the ALR land. And I don't know where the boundary line is between the two. Wildlife certainly doesn't. This inclusion would increase the protection of an endangered grasslands landscape and lessen the impact that further development at the airport will have on this area. My hopes would be that one day the town would either sell or donate the land to Nature's Trust so that it is included in that conservation area. If the RDOS has the vision to recognize the value of this beautiful grassland region and to assist Nature's Trust in preserving it for everyone's benefit, not only animals but humans too, then why can't we do the same thing? What legacy do we want to be remembered for? My other concern is that this hillside is an area of natural beauty and is used by many people. It's not just for the residents of Airport Road. Many other people in town and tourists enjoy this area. It may sound slappy to you, but these hills are a tonic, a stress reliever. I drive home and no matter how bad a day I have had, my heart lifts at looking at that view. There are not many areas so close to town where you can walk in such a beautiful area close to the road and still feel relatively safe. Being a city girl, I was worried about being eaten by a cougar. In your OCP under airport lands, the town wrote that it wants to preserve existing natural features of the landscape where possible. Here is your chance. Building on those hills will destroy the natural beauty of the area, and once it is gone for good. My third concern is pollution. Whilst there are concerns about increased noise and litter pollution at the airport, something that we have ongoing at the moment, I am most concerned about light pollution, not only at the airport, but in Princeton as a whole. We have the most beautiful night sky at the airport, and I'm very concerned that development of this size will impact that. Light pollution has a disastrous impact on wildlife and humans as well, and we already have areas in Princeton that are way too brightly lit. The high school and the pot plant are two examples, so bright in fact that they impact people's night vision when they're driving past those areas. Large portions of the earth have lost their night sky. Europe is way ahead of the game in taking steps to try and rectify this, as science has shown how dangerous light pollution can be. In fact, there are jobs in England where people are responsible for maintaining the night sky through education to councils and through public awareness, including research as the most effective way to use lighting for security. Bright is not always better. If you are interested in learning more, there is a book called All Through the Night by Danny Robertson. Perhaps the light pollution bylaw for any future development in town would be a good place to start. My last comment is, do we really need to destroy this hillside haven for property development? And if you feel I'm wandering into territory I shouldn't be, then please just say so, because I have sent this to you as well and you can read it. I know I probably don't have all the facts, And I know there are things that you worry about, such as infrastructure and future housing needs, floodplain issues, and things that may never ever cross my mind. And maybe this development seems like a get out of jail free card for the town. I don't know what infrastructure the developer is offering you, whether it's for the town, like a new sewer system, or whether it's just infrastructure for the airport. But obviously it must be a big carrot on a stick for the town to consider having such a large development in such a beautiful and well-loved area. Am I happy about it? Of course not. Who would be having development this size in their backyard? But I am not a NIMBY. I've come to terms with the fact that I will likely lose my view, that the road in front of my house will likely be opened up for further access, and that I will have to deal with increased dust from traffic in the summer. But I've been thinking about ways to mitigate this. I might even end up with houses to the side and directly in front of me. I know change is coming, and that is not why I am here. I agree we do need some housing development. I am not adverse to have some houses with hangers. Am I happy that my property taxes will go up again? No, but the flip side is if I decide to sell, my property will be worth more too. So I'm trying to see this from both sides. I am eternally grateful that I have the opportunity to move to Princeton. It's changed my life, and I wouldn't want to prevent others from doing it. But I also see that it's the existing residents in Princeton that need the most support. When I moved here 7 years ago, I bought a house that had been on the market for 2 years. Property taxes were low. I got a doctor fairly easily. We weren't really too worried about water back then, and you could get a chiropractic appointment without having to wait for 2 months. We currently have approximately 55 houses for sale on MLS.ca for Princeton and surrounding areas. We have 3 realtor offices and their windows are full of houses for sale. Fred the Builder has several new houses for sale that have not sold yet. We have 50 apartments funded by BC Housing coming to Fenchurch, 150 apartments up near Cal Tire. Do we really need to build on a beautiful hillside and take away its ALR status? I think not. I hear a lot from the town about how we need this development for workers from the mine and the mill. Yet when I ask new clients at the chiropractic office if they had trouble buying a place, they say no. It's the workers that want to rent that have issues, as they often only in Princeton for their work days. They tell me they want to spend as little as possible as they have housing costs back in their hometowns. Some of them are using hotels. They park RVs on friends' properties, or they just rent a room in someone's house. They are not looking to buy. Again, this is only what I am seeing and hearing, and there may be other information I'm not aware of. Rental accommodation is obviously needed. Lots of young people really want their own place. They don't want to still be living with their parents in their 30s or 40s. Many people can't afford to buy their own place because their income is low, and they don't ever see that changing. I had a mill worker at the Cairo office tell me yesterday he doesn't think he's going to be able to afford a house at the airport development, and he's on a good wage. Affordable housing is really needed, but it's a tough one. It's not sexy, and it's not profitable for developers, and I don't envy you the problem of trying to source it. Perhaps we could sell the hillside to Nature's Trust and use the money to build an apartment building somewhere else. I know you don't own all the land on the other side of the airport, but maybe there is room there for something that might help. Infrastructure is important, obviously, but there are other issues to consider if we bring more people into the town. There are currently not enough doctors for existing residents. We already know that the chiropractic, physio, and massage therapists can't keep up with current needs. Can the hospital and the fire department cope with large developments and increased population? Do we have enough places at school for the kids that might come? We certainly don't have enough qualified teachers. And the biggie, do we have enough water to support the people in this town and the sewage systems to support further development? What happens if the mill or the mine shut down? There may be other concerns I've not thought of, and perhaps you have already thought of these issues and have a plan. Sometimes we have to accept that maybe we just can't accommodate everyone that wants to come here. It's a sad fact of life. There are so many unanswered questions about this development, which leads to fear, rumors, misunderstood or false information. As our elected officials, please speak to that. Put people's minds at rest about developers. Give us the rationale behind your thinking and decision making. Give us the opportunity to have a public meeting to discuss our concerns and present some ideas, preferably in the evening so more people can attend. You will get way better buy-in. We're not out to get you or make your job more difficult. But this grassland hillside is very important to our area, and personally, it's a hill that I am prepared to die on or be unpopular with town council about. I've lost sleep over it. I have shed tears over it. I want you to think how you want to be remembered as a town council. You have done such a good job so far during COVID, forest fires, and floods. What do you want your continuing legacy to be? Do you want to be the town council known for destroying the beautiful grasslands hillside at the airport to create homes for coastals? Because that is what many people are thinking, that only coastals will be able to afford them. Or do you want to be known as a council that protected that area while using a more appropriate site for housing that meets the needs of current residents as well as newcomers? And how can we help with that? And remember, large carrots on sticks often don't taste as good as you think. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak? I'm gonna let Mary go first, John.
Mine is very short. I thought a very short letter would get more attention, but what you said.
My essay, I know, sorry.
I approve of everything you said. My name is Mary Maciel, and I've been in Princeton for 44 years. So I'm almost an old timer, but since I wasn't born here, I'm
Mary, your
really
address?
consider
Your address.
Your address.
329 Tulameen Avenue.
You have to have that for the record.
Okay, very good. I turned 81 yesterday,
Happy birthday.
and I'm still amazed that I'm quite naive and idealistic. And I think I probably will be for the rest of my life. And I strongly oppose the exclusion of this land from the ALR. I can appreciate the town's desire to designate the area above the floodplain as residential. However, I do not support using this parcel of land to develop as a housing estate. The land in question is a fine example of grasslands, and there are very few such areas still remaining in the province. Those areas still available should be protected at all costs. This site is a wonderful habitat for wildflowers, plants, birds, mammals, etc. The habitat should continue to exist for future generations. That's my idealism shown. I know, I'm not going to read all this because it's already been said, that you're looking for an area to put housing. And you mentioned that you have different types of housing that will go in this land, which is good. But you also have to remember that we don't have any area in Princeton to make it a sprawling town. We're in a very narrow valley, and there's very little land for actually building. So if you stick to kind of housing that would be multi-resident, like townhouses, duplexes, etc., rather than single-family dwellings, I think it's a really better idea. And people that come to Princeton should be prepared to buy and live in that type of housing. The big houses with the big yards is no longer possible in Princeton itself. There are ranch lands you could possibly buy, and that would be okay. Anyway, taking all the things into consideration, my biggest concern is for my grandchildren who don't live here, but other people's grandchildren and future grandchildren should have a habitat that is going to be protected. And this area, you may not think it isn't, but it is very, very precious. And we're so lucky that Nature Trust of BC decided to build or to buy that big parcel of land that used to be the Cone Ranch. And for that, we naturalists are very happy about it. But that little piece that's just left, it will destroy all of that. And I really would like to see it remain as a protected habitat for future generations, not for us, but for future generations.
Thank you, Mary. Okay, John, you're.
Okay, I agree with everything that Solitaire and Mary said there.
John, read your full name.
Okay, John Henry, 329 Tulameen Avenue, and I've been here 40 odd years too. All I want to add is that since Nature Trust bought that land they've had to come back and come back and come back and dig trenches and put up fences to stop ATVs and skidoos going in there. Nobody minds if you walk over it. And the same thing will apply if you ever build houses on this ALR land. You'd have to build fences 25 feet high because it'd be, oh, that's my back fence. I think I'll just take a run to the top of the hill in my ATV, because this is what people do. And there's no way you're going to be able to stop them. And so, you know, I'll get angry if I say much more, but the way it is now, you can walk anywhere you want over there, and it's not doing anything any harm. But once you start to get people there with back fences that back onto it, that's what's going to happen. You'll have ATVs and snowmobiles all over it. Okay,
That's
that's
true.
all I'm going to say.
We have a problem with ATVs as it is now. Oh, yeah.
Okay, I'll ask a third time. Somebody else wish to speak? Third, and, yeah, go ahead.
Can I talk from here?
Yeah, I just need your full name and
Yep,
address.
Bert Garner, 211 Airport Road. Unlike a lot of people here tonight, or this afternoon, I've only been here 5 years, so I'm really enjoying it. I'm not in favor of taking this land out of the ALR. I think it's being used for its purpose right now, and it has been for many years. The pasture land is what it has been used for, and I think it's very important to keep that. Like I say, I haven't been here long, but I have come from the Fraser Valley. And I'm sure that a lot of you have seen the developments that have happened down there. Promontory in Chilliwack, the Abbotsford hillsides, it's basically, it's not appealing, let's just put it that way. I think there's, like has been said, this land could be used as our key parkland, and there's no better parkland than having a natural park. And I think that's exactly what this, many of us walk that every week for exercise, for enjoyment, except in the middle of the summer. In the middle of the summer, that land, that you can't walk there, it's too hot. If you're building houses on that hillside, you're in extreme heat right till the sun goes down at the end of the day, because it's beating down right on you. So I don't know if that, I guess people would have to have their air conditioners running all day long and just to keep cool, and they definitely wouldn't be able to go out in their yards. That would be, just too warm. There's no shade. There's very few trees, and that's why it's a warm part of our town. I'll speak to the other part of the proposed development down closer to the airport building. We do have our fire season.
So
Is that,
that's not
part of it?
it's not-
Okay, I'll leave that out.
That's only the hillside,
Okay,
and it's only the ALR.
okay. But, yeah, so I think that the only other thing I can say is I think having, building, development in town throughout the town is a much better way to assimilate people into the community, to make them feel like they're part of the community, and, they come from out of town, a busy place, they can relax, they can feel like they're part of it, rather than a huge development where they're just gonna be, not able to really assimilate into the quiet lifestyle that I've enjoyed, so. Thank you very much.
I'll ask one last final time if anybody has anything else.
Spencer, Suzanne Hoffman, 109 West China Creek Road. I have more of a question really than, because I totally understand that this is about the ALR piece. For me, my concern has to do with the development piece. So I just wanted to ask a question. Is there going to be an opportunity in future for there to be some input from townspeople on the focus of the development if it goes through, if the ALR exclusion does go through?
I'll deviate. So we just finished an OCP review amendment, and part of the OCP amendment was this whole project. It was approved through the OCP as well. So this is not something that's new, right? In 2022, February 2022, we put the application out, it went public, that we were doing this officially in February of 2022. There's been input on and off since
Okay.
2022, including this, through the official community plan process.
Okay. I didn't actually see it in the OCP, the one that's on your website.
It's there under residential. So the whole zone has been designated residential on the official community plan, which was
Yeah.
part of the official community plan discussions.
Right, right. So what I'm asking is the makeup of that particular
I
housing
can't say at this time
mix.
because there is no housing project. We
Okay.
have a potential,
Okay.
we have a proposal that we put forward, a concept to attract a developer. We went through a competitive process to attract a developer with 5 developers applied. The best one was the one that council chose as the developer that we wish to work with. Not based on carrots, not based on anything other than the
Right.
quality of the application.
Right.
Okay, so at that point, we chose a developer. Now, nothing is happening because we have to get we have to do the next step. It's been 2 years in the process to get to this step. Right? This has been an ongoing thing through the OCP and and through the public consultation where we followed all the legislative requirements to advertise and do everything. And I understand people don't read the newspaper anymore, but unfortunately, the legislation and the bylaws state that we have to follow a procedure. So we've been following the procedure. We advertised it for 2 weeks longer than we had. We only have to do it for two periods in the paper. We've advertised for 3 weeks, 3 processes in the paper. We made the sign bigger so the residents up there could see the sign, just in case, they couldn't see the sign. So, we've been doing more than the required process to get to this point. The next step is this application. The province has changed the process to do removals of ALR land. It has to go through a municipality to be able to do it. In this case, it's the town owns the property. They took half of the property out of the ALR when they built the airport. They left the other side of this same piece of parcel in the ALR.
Right.
The next process is this, so that's where we're at right now.
Because I certainly understand the need for development, but I think what's confusing is if you go on Alia Holdings Limited website.
That has nothing to do with this hearing.
No, I understand that, but just hear me out. The confusing part is that
Investors.
but they already call it Skyview Developments and they say that they're in on it here
So
and
they're the contractor, they're the developer that we have, that we're working on.
right.
That council chose.
So they're saying like it's gonna be 85 luxury homes with some of them with airplane hangars.
Some of them will be airport.
Yeah,
That's the only
but
guarantee.
luxury homes.
That's the only guarantee right now is that will be airplane hangars.
Okay. So that's all I'm asking, Spencer. Is there an opportunity for us to have the ability to actually give some input from a housing perspective about what would meet the needs? Because
So-
85
so
luxury
again,
homes doesn't meet.
So again, we
Yeah.
just finished the housing needs report.
yeah.
I believe you were part of community services.
That's right.
Community services had a big part to play in the housing needs report that
Right.
was just done. And the housing needs report identifies 800 homes in the next 20 years. We also have the added stress of floodplain, which covers everything downtown. Right? So add that onto the 800 homes in the next 20 years, and you're in quite this, you're constrained. So like Mary liked to point out, we can't sprawl, we have
Right.
nowhere to go.
Right.
The only piece of property, and the only piece of property that the province will work with us on is property that the town of Princeton owns. So if we are to look at even future PC housing projects, we have to pony up somewhere. We don't own anything that's not in a flood. So where are we gonna go? So this is the problem. So that's why we're doing this today, because
Yeah.
before we do anything else, before we come up with a final plan, before we do anything, as I explained on the internet and everything else, we have to do this portion. This portion then will go out to the ALR. That's why this is about the agricultural land reserve, not about
Right.
development. They will make a decision. When their decision is made, then we can finalize our, whatever we're going to do.
Okay,
Okay, we are working on an agreement with the developers on how that's going to look. There is no final agreement in place. We have something in principle, and that's as far as that's going.
okay.
Because we
So-
don't have nothing to build on right now.
No, I get that. I'm just saying, if it goes through though, is there an opportunity for town citizens to give
Under the legislation
input?
that came in under, if. Yeah, we will figure out, we already have a way to work with your organization
Right,
and with the other organizations that deal with housing in the community. We're
Right.
also working with BC Housing on a regular basis to try to find more affordable housing.
Yeah.
Now, I understand people have an idea of what affordable housing is. And affordable housing is subsidized housing by the province.
yeah, and I'm not
It's
talking
not-
about that.
It's not the other stuff. So under Bill 44, single-family homes pretty much no longer exist in British Columbia. You can build them, but we can't restrict that. We cannot force you to build a single-family. So the smallest we can restrict down to is what, a duplex or something like that in most locations. So the only way to build capacity is that way.
Right, which makes sense.
So,
That makes
but
tons
a
of sense.
luxury home,
That's what I
with a
want.
hangar.
That's what that makes a lot more sense to me than a luxury home with a hangar.
Spencer,
Thank you.
could I just ask, so if you guys decide that you're still going to go ahead with the ALR application,
yeah,
where does it go after that?
the agricultural land, commission,
Okay, so they told me it would go to the next level of government
which is that,
then.
we're the next level of government. Once it goes from here, it goes to their process.
And when,
Send it off and then it takes, however long it takes for them.
okay, and
4
when
weeks,
did
it could
we,
take 4 years.
sorry,
It could take 4 weeks, it could take 4 years. We don't know.
for you,
Wherever we are in the queue with the rest of
oh, I see,
Oh.
you mean at their end, okay. So, how will we know what your decision is from today?
well, we're gonna vote on it later.
Okay, and then it'll be on the website, town website?
Yeah, you can watch the rest of the meeting or
Oh, I see, okay,
you can read the minutes later or
right.
go and watch the video later. Whichever one you want.
Are we on video?
Sure. This is all being recorded.
Would have done that here.
Our meetings are home. We try to record all our meetings because we don't get in trouble.
Okay.
So,
Thank
last
you.
call for questions on the ALR application. Okay, with that, we'll declare the public hearing closed.